Hi, I'm here to talk to you about the ObjectScript Package Manager, also known as ZPM. My name is Timothy Leavitt. I'm the Development Manager in Application Services at InterSystems. And this project is particularly important to me. It's kind of come out of some work that I did in health share development, and I'm really excited to see the community able to benefit from it. So today we'll just give an overview of the ObjectScript Package Manager, and I'll demonstrate some of the key features in it that I think can really accelerate our development workflows. Coming out of this, you should be able to understand what you can do with the package manager, and you should have a good understanding of the workflow for working with the package manager in InterSystems IRIS and Visual Studio Code. The key thing I'd like you to take away from this is that the ObjectScript Package Manager, also known as ZPM, has powerful capabilities to easily access open source and community developed packages, facilitate your own code reuse, and even manage testing and deployment on InterSystems IRIS. And we'll go into each of these a little bit. So getting started with the ObjectScript Package Manager. There are three options. If you don't know anything about Docker, just stick with the first one. Most simply, you can start out with the Open Exchange. There's a link there, and you can just download an XML file and load it into your instance. Note, this is for IRIS or IRIS for Health only, and that'll get you set up and running. If you're into Docker, there's also a container that has the ObjectScript Package Manager built in that you could use. And there's also a template repository that has everything for Docker, plus the package manager, plus kind of a scaffold for your project that you could use to get started. I'm not so much into Docker at this point, so the first one of those is just fine for me. So once you have that set up, how do you install a package from the Open Exchange? It's wicked easy. In terminal, you just say ZPM install whatever the package name is. Or equivalently, you can run the ZPM command to get into the package manager shell, type install package name, it'll load, and then you can quit back to the normal terminal prompt. Super easy, no hunting around for XML files, no digging to find which GitHub organization was it under. It's just that easy. What is there out there to install? There's tools, samples, demos, a number of the more popular open source projects on InterSystems platform, Web Terminal, Deep Sea Web, and MDX2JSON, and a lot more out there. Just to put in a plug for some of my projects, the test coverage tool for ObjectScript, and we've also recently contributed a library for rapid development of REST APIs, apps.rest. Both of those are available on the Open Exchange and through ZPM as well. What's in one of these packages? Pretty much almost anything. You can have classes, routines, even globals in there if you want to include data. You can automate configuration for web applications and REST APIs, deploy static resources for front-end applications, declare your dependencies on other modules and have them loaded automatically, include unit tests, which are very easy to run within the package manager. And if there's other things, other language resources, other aspects of an application that need to be bundled together, the package manager is extensible to meet these needs. So we'll go into a demo now, just going over some of the key features of the package manager, creating, loading, testing, publishing modules to the community registry. All right, I'm going to demonstrate the process of installing the ObjectScript Package Manager and then just kind of give a tour of some of the most important features in it. So I'm starting out here on the Open Exchange, openexchange.intersystems.com, and conveniently right near the top is the ObjectScript Package Manager. It's easily distinguishable because it has a lot of stars, so I can click on that. And there's, right under installing here, there's a download the latest version of ZPM from the registry. So I can just click that link, and I get an XML file that I can load with $system.obj.load. It takes a little while to compile because there's a lot of code there, but what you have once you've installed it is this ZPM command. That's an ObjectScript language extension that allows access to the ObjectScript Package Manager. So you can see here, if I type ZPM and then list in quotes, it'll show me the version of the package manager that I have installed. Or if I just type ZPM, it'll drop me into a package manager shell where I can then run whatever commands I would pass in the quotes there, like list, for example. I get the same output. And then to get back to the normal terminal prompt, I just quit, and it brings me back to my prompt with the namespace there. What can I do with the package manager other than just listing what's already installed? Well, I can go back into the package manager shell and type search, and that'll look at the community registry, which I currently have it set to a test registry. I can go ahead and change that back to point to the real one. If I type search, it'll show me all of the packages available on the community, which is a lot. Some of these are development tools, some of them are examples, and there's one in particular, test coverage, that I'll demonstrate a bit later. But for now, it's sufficient to say, given the name of one of these packages, I can just say install test coverage, and I don't need to go out to the internet and browse through GitHub and different places and find an XML file to load or go through any convoluted process to load or set up this unit of code. I just say install the package name and I have it. This is really what you would expect from any language. So if I then list again, I'll see in addition to the package manager itself, I also have the test coverage module. So suppose I already have some unit of code or some project, maybe a bunch of classes and maybe some unit tests that I want to turn into a package using the ObjectScript package manager. As it turns out, I have one of those handy from a project I was working on earlier. This directory, I just have C virtual summit, and that has some classes in it, it has some unit tests, and I want to turn that into a package. So from the package manager shell, I'll say generate, and I'll pass in C virtual summit, the directory that my code is in, and it asks me for a module name. So a good example of this might be if it's a community-driven module, community dot something describing what it does, or your company name, or maybe your GitHub username as a module prefix. So in this case, I'm just going to say demo package as my module name. A module version, we use semantic versioning, so if you release a new version that breaks everything, you should update the major version. Really, you should avoid that anyway, but if you do, you update the major version. If you release new functionality that is backward compatible, you'd update the minor version. And if you just release bug fixes, that would be a bump to the patch version, so that other things that depend on your package can accept an appropriate level of risk. So I'll call this 0.1.0 because I'm not going to be defining a public API, and the semantic versioning spec, which you can read all about outside of this presentation, would call for that. For description, I'll just say this is a demo package for virtual summit presentation. Module keywords, I'll just call it a demo. And then there's the module source folder. So I have a folder not called src, but called cls that has all of my classes. So I'll just put that in. Now it offers to automatically add a definition of a web application to the module. So this would be nice if I have REST APIs that I want to include automatically when this is installed, or if I have some static files, all of that can be managed through the package manager. I'm not going to go into detail on it. There's some good developer community posts on it. So I'll just accept that as blank. And there's also an option to enter dependencies. And I could say I depend on a particular version of a module if I wanted to say I depend on test coverage rather than just having it as an option to use, for example. I'll skip that too. It's a more advanced topic. So what just happened? If I go back into VS Code, I can see that in my root for this project, I have a file called module.xml. And it looked in the CLS folder and automatically added a resource named virtualsummit.pkg. So at this point, if I go into the package manager shell and I say load C virtual summit, it did a bunch of things. I can see that they were all successful. If I want to see the details of everything that happened, I can add a verbose flag. So it loaded all of my classes, it compiled them, and that's really the only stuff that happened. Configure and activate would have things more like setting up web applications, loading data, that sort of thing. So that's great. Now I want to package this up and distribute it through the package manager, allow other people to access my great project that I've just finished. How do I do that? Practically speaking, the first thing you do would be create a GitHub repository, then publish it on the Open Exchange. As long as there's the module.xml in there, it'll all just work, and it'll end up in the main repository. In this case, I want to test the process of publishing first. So the way I can do that is, I kind of spoiled it earlier, there's a test registry for packages out there, and I'll just paste in this command from a helpful developer community article. repo-n registry-r-URL, URL to the test registry, a username and password. And now if I was to search again, I would see some results of my testing earlier, and that's it. This registry is cleared out every night. It's really just for testing. So if I want to publish my package called demo package, I logically say publish demo package. And that's it. And it loads it, and it compiles it, makes sure everything is good. It packages it up into a .tgz file, and then it sends it out to the test registry, and it says it was successful. So I should now be able to say install demo package. I'll just make it verbose so we can see that we're actually getting something back. And I can see all of those 4 classes are there again, and they've been loaded and compiled, and that's it. So super easy. If I list, I can see demo package, the one I created, plus the 2 that were installed earlier. Next thing that's very important to me that I'd like to talk about is unit testing in this context. I already have a folder called internal testing unit tests with unittest.virtualsummit.created in VS Code in it. So I'll go ahead and add a new unit test resource here. So it needs a name, and in the case of unit tests, that would be the folder it's in. So I'll say internal testing unit tests. You could have more than one of these in a package. And then I'll give it a package name of unittest.virtualsummit, and we'll say it runs in the test phase. So now if I say test demo package, well no, first thing I need to do is reload it to get the new module definition in the database. You'll note that unit tests are not loaded, but if I then go and say test demo package, they are loaded and they run. If I want to see a little bit more detail there, of course I can add that verbose flag again, and I can see that my one unit test ran and their unit test results and everything passed. So that's great. But I wonder if these unit tests are really any good. Like, are they even covering the code that I'm interested in? Well, we installed the test coverage package earlier. We happen to already have a file called coverage.list within our unit test root that says we're interested in tracking coverage on virtualsummit.pkg, that whole package of classes. And to run unit tests with that, all I need to do is say demo package test. This is equivalent to test demo package. There's a bit of a bug that I reported a couple minutes ago with this particular feature, but I can say -only and then add the special flag prefacing whatever configuration data I want to send into the package manager with D, and we'll say unit test.manager class equals test coverage.manager for some inversion of control to say instead of running our unit test the normal way, we'll use a custom unit test manager class. And when I do that, it takes a little bit longer, and I can see I have 0% code coverage. That's not good. So I can pull up this URL and paste it in my browser, log in, and I can see there's only one class that has any code that might be tested. And if I drill down to the detail there, there's this getAnswer method, and there are 2 lines of code in there that could be run, and neither of them was covered by unit tests. So I can go into my existing unit test, and I'll say test getAnswer, and we'll assert equals compound class virtual summit Demo.foo.getAnswer, the method that wasn't tested. And we know that that should return 42, so we'll assert that it does. And now, if I run my tests again, I can see that we have 100% code coverage. So this is really to highlight two things. The test coverage tool is something I've talked about in Global Summits past, but it fits very nicely in this framework. And with the package manager, there is a great opportunity for extensibility to fit into your own development workflows, and there's a lot of value in terms of making more complicated things like how do I run all my unit tests much simpler. As a reminder, if you'd like to publish one of your own packages, it's really easy. You just create a GitHub repository for it, add that module.xml in the repo root. You can use the ZPM generate function to make that really easy for an existing project. Submit it on the Open Exchange, and that's it. It is reviewed before publication, so there's a slight delay. But once you go through these steps, that's it. You're out there, and your project can be used by other people. It also may be helpful, as I said, to test publishing and installation, and there's a link there you can see to the developer community post going over those features. A more advanced feature, if you have your own internal projects that you don't want to be putting out there on GitHub where just anybody could use them, there is also the option to self-host your own registry for your own projects. And I've included a link to the developer community on that. There is, of course, a package available through the ObjectScript package manager exactly for that purpose. So this is just not going into detail on that, but just a pointer if this is something that is of interest to you. And I can say that it has been valuable for us to be able to break apart some of our larger code bases into these smaller individual units, declare them as dependencies as needed, and manage a very large code base that way. And I hope that this will be useful to you as well. For next steps, there's a whole section of the developer community about the package manager. And most importantly, just try it out. Play with it, see if there are ways that this can help solve the problems that you're facing. And feel free to connect with me through the developer community, through LinkedIn, through email. I hope that we will have some productive conversations about how the package manager can help meet your needs. Thank you.